Hi everyone and welcome to another recipe video, and today I'm making these mini lava honey bundt cakes, which are filled with runny honey, which is revealed when you slice the cakes open. To decorate these little cakes, I actually use some bubble wrap to make some chocolate, in inverted commas, honeycomb, which is just chocolate that's been shaped with these bubbles. And I have this strip here and I've washed it well and made sure that there are enough bumps and that I haven't been tempted to pop them all because we need those for the shape. So first we're going to colour it a bit, and I'm taking some edible gold luster dust, which came in this spray bottle that I found, but the spray doesn't actually work that well, so I've just taken it apart and taken the insides here. And to turn it into a paint, I'm going to mix a little vodka into it. Don't worry, you're not going to get drunk off of this, the vodka does evaporate and it will dry off to just leave that layer of gold luster. So I'm just giving it a good mix, and you feel free to eyeball it, there are no exact measurements here for the paint. If it is a bit too watery, add a bit more luster dust. If it's not watery enough, add a little more alcohol. Just eyeball it. And I'm painting it as evenly as possible on the bubble wrap here, leaving a little space along the edges so I can handle it more easily. And now I'm just going to leave this for about 10 minutes until it's completely dry. Whilst that's drying, I'm going to temper some chocolate, and to do that, I am half melting about 30 grams of milk chocolate on a double boiler here. You can do it in a microwave every few seconds. And then when it's only half melted, I then stir it off the heat until it's fully melted. And to temper it, I'm going to add chunks of unmelted chocolate bit by bit until it will literally no longer melt anymore. And at this point, you've reformed those crystal structures in the cocoa butter to make sure that it will set properly. So as you can see, that little chunk's not melted anymore, and to test it, I'm just dipping a spoon in that chocolate. I'm going to pop it in the fridge literally just for a few seconds. And now I'm going to take this extra chunk of chocolate out in a minute. First check the spoon, and yep, it has fully set in literally just a few seconds in the fridge. And it's not bendy or squishy, it's completely crisp. That's what we want from our chocolate when we temper it. So now that that's done, I'm going to get rid of that, and when I say get rid of it, I eat it. And I'm going to mysteriously dispose of this chunk as well, also went straight in my mouth. And now we're just going to spread this tempered chocolate onto our prepared bubble wrap. And just like with the gold paint, you don't want to spread it all the way to the edges because then it will make your life really difficult when it comes to moving this around. So I'm giving it a good spread just over that painted bit, avoiding the edges so I have a little bit of finger space there. And now I'm just going to transfer this onto a baking tray because I want to pop it in the fridge. So the baking tray just gives it a bit of a more solid background so it doesn't flop around. And the cutting board is a little bit too big for my fridge. Oof, that was close. Did you see that? I nearly folded it over. Right, pop it in the fridge. That should just take about 10 minutes to set. Now to make the cake, preheat the oven to 180 degrees C, as usual with making our sponge cakes. Now we're taking 150 grams of unsalted butter, which have been softened to room temperature, and adding 55 grams of light muscovado sugar, and just a pinch of salt to bring out that flavour. And now we're going to add the all-important honey, and I've got 55 grams of it here too, and it's runny honey. At this stage you could use set honey, but I prefer runny honey for the stickiest texture. And now we're going to cream that together until it's all light and fluffy and well combined. And as usual, I forgot to turn the power on by the mains. Instead of whisking it, you can also put it all together in a saucepan and melt it together, which is the method I use on my blog. They're both pretty much the same, they both work the same in the end, and they taste the same to me too. Now we're going to whisk in 2 eggs. If you're using the stovetop method, make sure that it's off the heat now and that the batter's cooled down before you add the eggs, because you don't want to cook the eggs at this point. And once those are in, you're going to whisk that until it's smooth and fluffy too. Now that we're at this point, we're going to add the flour. So add 115 grams of self-raising flour, not plain, so we want it nice and puffy so that it rises in the oven. And whisk that again too until it's just well combined, but don't over whisk because we don't want it to be tough. And now we're going to fill our moulds. This makes 8 mini bundts, so I do end up having to make a second batch of 2. And as you can see, I've made my life a bit easier by putting that cake batter in a piping bag, so I could just pipe it straight into the moulds. Now I'm giving them each a little tap to make sure there are no air bubbles down there. And then we're going to bake them for 20 minutes until they're golden, risen and puffy, just like this. Delicious! So leave them to cool a little before unmoulding them because you don't want to burn your hands. And I'm just going to start with 2 at the moment because remember this makes 8. And I'm just going to finish off the final 2 here. Again, takes 20 minutes to bake. I like these silicone moulds. They've lasted me for years and years. You never have to grease them before you put the batter in because they pop straight out. And they save space because I can just smush them together when I put them away and they won't lose their shape. Now I'm just going to set these aside and let them cool completely. We don't add the extra honey yet because it will just absorb it if it's warm. And now you can see our block of honeycomb chocolate is perfectly set. I'm going to do the really satisfying thing of peeling off this bubble wrap here. And when I'm done with it, I'm just going to wash it and then use it another time. No point in throwing it away if it's still good. But before I wash it, I'm going to use it to help me break this chunk of chocolate off, because it will give a little barrier between the chocolate and my warm hands, and I don't want the chocolate to melt. So I'm just using it to snap the chocolate up. And you can just do irregular shapes, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just not too big, not too small. Make sure it's proportionate to the size of your little cakes. Now it's time to make the topping, and all it is some whipped cream. So I'm taking 150 ml of double cream, and I'm just going to give it a good old whisk until it forms soft peaks. Basically a nice pipeable consistency. I find that full fat Greek yogurt is also really a nice topping if you want something a little bit sharp to go against the sweetness of the cakes. But here I'm going for cream. Now's the fun part, we're going to put everything together. So to make the lava insides, I'm simply squeezing some extra runny honey right into the middle of those little bunts. And because we've put enough batter in those little Bundt tins, the cakes rose and closed up the bottom so the honey won't ooze out the bottom, hopefully. Once you're done with the honey, we're going to pipe on that whipped cream on top. Be careful that you're piping from the outside to the inside, and that will stop the honey from smushing out. If you pipe it inside to out, then you might risk the honey overflowing. Now we're just going to put our chocolate honeycomb pieces that we worked so hard on, just for an extra bit of flourish. And then you don't need to do this, but I put a few flowers on there. These are edible flowers, these are violas. In the past I've also used icing flowers as well, if you can't get hold of fresh flowers. And that's it, you are done. Just a heads up, these cakes are best served as soon as they're made, because the honey will eventually be drawn into the sponge. So if you want the full lava effect, be sure to serve them immediately. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you'll join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, and find me on Instagram as tashcakestastes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you liked it to help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you guys later. Be good, be nice, and have a good week.